Hello and welcome to PoE For Dummies, Delirium Edition. Delirium is basically a foggy part of the map where we go into a nightmare accessed by Delirium mirror, which we can enter, and then we flip into the other reality where we continue doing our map with added bonuses, enemies, and the difficulty. It also has 2 additional bosses. So to access Delirium, you unfortunately cannot get it in any other way other than using Atlas passives, map device if it has Delirium on it in the certain league, or if you do Delirious maps. More on that later. Now let me show you how a Delirium looks in a map. So when you enter a map through a portal, you will encounter a mirror. This mirror basically pulls you in. It doesn't, you just walk into it. The effect looks like it pulls you in. When you walk through it, you get an announcer strange voice, and then everything gets like dimmed grayish, and here are the enemies that spawn. Now, you will get rewards the more enemies you kill in the fog. The fog works exactly how it is in real life. It's basically like a cloud and it moves. The farther you are from the mirror, the faster it moves. When you leave the fog, you have 4 seconds to get back into the fog, or that will stop the Delirium encounter. If you want to stop the Delirium encounter prematurely, if you don't want any more rewards, and so on, you can always click on the skip button, or you can bind it to your keyboard, which is completely fine, or gamepad if you're on console. Now, the rewards that Delirium gives you are presented basically above the clock on the right side of the life globe, and you can see the numbers with them. I will just rewind a little bit. It starts with 1 reward. Usually, that's the baseline unless you have Atlas passives and so on. More on that in a bit. But it starts with like level 1 rewards, or we can call it layer 1, because Delirium works in layers. The more layers you go in, the more damage reduction the mobs actually receive, and they are more difficult to kill, but the rewards scale up. So when you get 1 reward, it goes 1 into 2. When you get from 2, you get it to 3, and whenever you get the first reward to 3, the second reward pops up. The rewards that you can get vary. You can get currency shard, abyss jewels, armors, weapons, delirium cards, legion, and stuff. You can get a lot of rewards. You can also force these rewards via delirium orbs. But for now, when you get like 2, 3, you get the second one, which gives you 1. Now you pop that up to 4 and 2. And then, I don't know if I did it here. Actually, I didn't. I died. And you can pop it up to 5. So first one is 5, second one is 3, and then you get the third reward, which is 1. Maximum, I went with my Righteous Fire build. You can see that on stream and on VODs is 7531. So that's 4 rewards. 7531. That was the maximum that I achieved. After that, it just becomes excruciatingly more difficult. Well, more than 5. It becomes way more difficult. I was just lucky with the amount of mobs and so on the screen, so you get the 4 rewards. Now, that's for the basic map. But what if, by the end of Delirium, the rewards drop around you in a circle once the Delirium is done, once it dissipates. You can get these Delirium orbs. So what you can do with these, you can either sell them. Some are very valuable, some are not as valuable. Some are 10 chaos, some are 30 chaos, and so on. But they give you different rewards. It always says via an icon in bottom right corner and via text what it gives you. So what you can do with them, you can apply them on a map. So you can right-click one. You can right-click one and you can apply it on the map. This one has 2 Delirium orbs applied. Every Delirium orb gives you players in area are 20% delirious. It stacks up to 100 or up to 5 delirium orbs. The more delirious you are, the less damage taken enemies get, but the rewards grow up in scale because you have more types of initial rewards. In Delirious maps, you went in a regular map, you go through a mirror. In Delirious maps, you are already in the nightmare. So you don't actually access the mirror and the fog does not dissipate. You are in the nightmare, you are in the fog. Go wild or go home. That's how it basically works. Now, after you apply a Delirious Orb to a map, up to 5, there is a chance a boss will spawn. There are 2 bosses for Delirious maps and Delirium itself, which are called Omniphobia and Chosis. Omniphobia has an axe. He usually does a general slam attack, a leap attack in front of him, and he can turn 180. You just spin him around in circles, you'll always kill him. Chosis, however, in short, he spawns these black orbs that drain life and so on, and he can slam them and they can explode, or he can channel into one, he gets an energy shield. If you remove his energy shield, he gets briefly stunned and weakened, and then you can kill him easier. If you don't do that, he is empowered, and that's it. That's just in short how the bosses work. Now, there's an additional mechanic when it comes to Delirium, which is Simulacrum. These splinters, Simulacrum splinters, will drop whenever you do a Delirious encounter. If you get, I think, more than like 2 or 3 waves or layers and so on in a map. They will drop in varying stacks, varying sizes. You need 300 of them, which is quite annoying to get sometimes, unless you specifically farm with Atlas passives and so on. But once you collect 300 of them, it will transform into this thing called Simulacrum. Simulacrum you can basically sell. That's 4 for a divine, so roughly 60 chaos per one. So you can sell them or you can enter them. Be warned, this is a wave thing, with every wave being more and more difficult. It is not recommended for beginner players because you will get overwhelmed. All those monsters in a fog in Delirium, they will all just like pop up and jump you. I will show you how a Simulacrum looks. So this is when you enter a Simulacrum, and I played it on my Righteous Fire build. You can get up to 3 or 4 different locations. They are towns that basically get put into Nightmare. And when you encounter the main guy, you will never fight him. He is like the embodiment of Nightmare. You will get monsters spawning. These spawn in higher and higher numbers. You can always see the rewards. And the more layers you go in, that sometimes you die, the more layers you go in, the more difficult it becomes. Now, the problem is, once you reach wave 20... Oh, this is Omniphobia. I'll show you Omniphobia in a second. Once you reach wave 2021, that's when things start scaling exponentially. Not linear, but exponential. Once you reach 25, every wave after that is scale to oblivion. There are builds specifically made to do Simulacrums, but you can get the best rewards out of the higher waves. One of them includes 1-point voices or 3-point voices, which is basically a medium or a large cluster jewel with 1 passive point and 3 jewels, which is, I think, a mirror or something. But that's the most valuable reward that you can get. But to get there, you need a very strong build. I think my Righteous Fire died at like level 25. But you can see here, in a few seconds, Omniphobia should spawn somewhere. Where is the dude? There he is. He just has your basic like slam attacks and so on. How you kill him? You just spin around in circles, and that's basically it. Chosis, however, I don't know if I got him here. I don't remember, but he is a little bit more difficult. Oh, I did get him here. Yes, he is a little bit more difficult. His icon is an eye. So Horns is Omniphobia. Chosis is an eye. And I think I basically died last time here. And 3, 2, 1, and that should be it. And here he is. So he has an energy shield. He spawns these bulls. He can channel into them. He gets an energy shield. If you let him channel fully, he gets empowered, and that's it. He portals behind you, and he can smack you for quite a significant sum. And I think, yeah, that's it. So all in all, that's it for regular, Delirium, and Simulacrum. Now let's go over passives. It's a little bit bigger video than Harbinger because it has a little bit more explanation to do. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 5 circles, pardon, 5 circles, and they are. So you can have extra chance to contain a mirror of Delirium. So that would be 22% chance, yes. I will explain the big one later. You can get Delirium in your maps increases 10% faster, which means that circle increases faster from the distance. Delirium in your maps increases 50% faster with distance, so it increases even more, so if you want to farm it. This one, Delirium Fog, lasts 3 additional seconds. 3 and 3, that's 6, so that means instead of 4 seconds, you have 10 seconds of Delirium before it actually dissipates fully. Delirium Fog dissipates slower, and Delirium in your maps dissipates slower and lasts additional 10 seconds. So you have 20 seconds. You can explore everywhere if you get lost. Let's go through this one. This one gives you Delirium in your maps are 8% more likely to spawn unique bosses, Omniphobia and Cosis, and they have extra chance to generate an additional reward type, which adds one more to those rewards that I mentioned in the beginning. So they are more likely to spawn unique monsters. That's basically if you want to farm them. 100% more likely. They drop 50% increased Simulacrum splinters and chance to drop a unique cluster jewel, which is Megalomaniac, which is a cluster jewel that can have... it's a medium cluster jewel that can have 3 notable passives instead of 2 plus a jewel, like regular cluster jewels can. I will get to cluster jewels, I forgot that. 1 second. Delirium in your maps have 4% chance to generate additional reward type and extra 3 reward types, so you can get up to like 5, 6, maybe 7. Here we have, there's an extra chance to contain a Mirror of Delhi, and the layers of Delirium. Layers basically means that there is no mirror, you are literally like in a Delhi map, in a Delirious map. So you just have a full-blown layer. Okay, there's this one. Delirium rewards in your maps have chance to give Delirium orbs, cluster jewels. Delirium orbs, of course, and cluster jewels here. And Delirious unique monsters have 2% chance to drop an additional cluster jewel, and 1% chance to drop an additional Delirium orb. Now, I've mentioned cluster jewels. Let me show you that before we finish with this one and the big notable one. Cluster jewels are jewels that can be large, medium, and small in size that you can use to further develop your character. They can drop in Delirium, or you can buy them off of player, that's completely fine. So you can have a large cluster jewel, which can allocate between 8 and 12 large passive skills, or passive skills, sorry, not large, 8 to 12 passive skills, which can have up to 3 notable passive skills. 1, 2, 3, and it has 2 jewels. Usually, with large, you pick up 8, so you don't get an extra passive point here, so you don't waste it. On medium cluster jewels, you can have 4, 5, and 6 passives with 2 notables and 1 jewel. They all vary in what they do and so on. If your build guide or build that you're following or doing requires some of them, you can always go to PoEDB. I will link it down in the description below so you can see all the cluster jewels, passives, and notables on them. So they can give you 4 or 5. Whichever you pick up, 4 or 5, it doesn't matter because you will always have good enough, like enough points. It pops like 1 passive here, so it doesn't matter. You will have a small one. You have a small one which can add 2 or 3 passive skills. These can be like buff skills or life skills and so on and so forth. You can roll them. This one has increased mana reservation efficiency of skills. It has 1 notable and no jewels. Or you can have a Megalomaniac, as I said here, with like 3 notable passes, 1 empty, and 3 notables. Basically, you sacrifice 1 point here, and you sacrifice a jewel for a notable passive. Now, that's for cluster jewels. Of course, they will be linked. Let's go through the last circle here, and then I will explain the big one. Delirious monsters killed in your maps provide reward progress, so that reward progress that picks up, and stack size of Simulacrum splinters. Reward progress on the right, stack size of Simulacrum splinters on the left. On the right side, Delirium reward types in your maps gain +1 to count on map completion. Map completion means when you kill a map boss, so you can go through a linear map, and if you have Delirium Fog, and by the end of it, if it's like 6-3 or 6-4-2, it's going to be 7-5-3-1. So it's going to give you one extra full like count level layer. And here's increased stack size of Simulacrum splinters. That's if you want to farm. You can get up to a full Simulacrum or more of splinters if you do things, farming things properly. Now, the big one is located down here, and it says this: Delirium fog in your maps never dissipates, Delirium orbs cannot be found in your maps, and Simulacrum splinters cannot be found in your maps. This basically disables two pieces of content, which are Delirium orbs and Simulacrum splinters. If you don't care about those, that's completely fine. But Delirium fog in your map never dissipates, which basically means the area is always delirious. So it's like you are always running a delirious map. That's what the big notable gives you. So for Delirium, would I recommend it to beginner players? You are going to encounter it anyways. Play through it. The biggest problem that I have with it is you do not have enough time to kill monsters, loot them, and continue killing them. You have to kill them and then go back, unless you have a tanky build or you have a build that deletes everything, but beginner players usually don't have that. Don't rush it. Loot is going to stay there. Don't worry about it. Just clean up the map and then come back around and pick up the loot when you get the Delirium things. Sell the orbs. You can run the maps or sell the maps. See how your build performs in them. And for Simulacrum, I do not recommend running it. I recommend selling it as a beginner player. If you want to test it, feel free to. But be warned, many builds don't survive more than 20-21 waves. Anything higher than that, it's either luck or a very good build. So that will be it for Delirium, PoE for Dummies Delirium. If you like the video, give it a like. If you don't, give it a dislike. Feel free to sub. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful time, and I will see you in the next video.